Roller coaster fans were shocked the other day to find out that Coasterstock was not returning in 2024. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Yeah, so a little bit of shocking news, as I mentioned at the top of the show. So the immensely popular annual Coasterstock event was announced to not be returning due to what the park described as timing. Instead, Kings Island will be the site of this year's American Coaster Enthusiast Spring Conference. Don, you're recognized as the godfather of Coasterstock. Were you surprised to hear that it wasn't coming back?
No, I wasn't, Ryan. Listen, Coasterstock has an acknowledged reputation as one of the finest park hosted events in the industry. Tickets, they sold out in less than 10 minutes. It was wildly successful, yet participants attending from throughout North America. You don't move off an event like that if you're a park without an ulterior motive,
Hmm.
and they have that motive.
Yeah. So your name was always synonymous with Coasterstock. And, the connection between you and the event is unmistakable. So having it would naturally bring your name to the forefront. Do you think that was a factor in not bringing it back this year?
Anything associated with my name makes some people at the park quite uncomfortable for whatever reason. It's kind of like if you've seen the movie Something About Mary. The character Dom Woganowski, in the movie, every time Mary's name is mentioned, he starts to get like a rash and that. So it's, I don't, but so yeah, no doubt that that was a concern if they were to proceed with coaster stock, and frankly, Ryan, they'd be flat out lying if they said otherwise.
Yeah, and the whole thing surrounding this is very strange because I saw on social media, and this came to the forefront because obviously they just recently announced that it wasn't coming back for this year. But somebody saw some park officials and they asked if it was coming back, and they immediately snapped to quote, Coaster Stock wasn't Don's event, end quote. Not once did they mention your name, but it went there. And then they were told, quote, of course it's coming back, unquote. And this like unpleasant interaction kind of left them surprised.
Well, let's get this part straight, Ryan. Coaster stock wasn't my event. Rather, it was an initiative that I conceived, named, and implemented for Kings Island as a park sponsored enthusiast event. That's what it was for the 8 seasons that I was involved with it. I facilitated the event every year, but I always felt coaster stock belonged to the participants.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So a blog by the Kings Island team stated timing as the reason for not continuing Coaster Stock this year. It sounds like the park needs time to forget your name, right? Uh, Sounds like they should probably grab a Snickers. It's gonna be a while, huh? Because you're pretty tied up with the history of the park and coaster stock and enthusiasts and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's woven into the fabric of Kings Island's history. You look at the racer, all those different kind of things. But it is what it is.
Kinda reminds me of when WWF changed to WWE and they had to do so hastily that they had to blur out the F, and, like, when they would show old clips and stuff. Anyway, but, Coaster Stock that was a lot of work for you. The individuals at Kings Island have been tasked with putting together Coaster Stock this year, and they were essentially bystanders the past couple years. They've seen but had little involvement in the actual organization and the execution of Coaster Stock. Do you think that was a factor in the decision not to bring it back as well?
Um, what you said effectively conveys that participants, they undoubtedly, would have been scrutinizing the new organizers of the event, questioning the organization of the event. If something wasn't going as well, or what they expected from previous years. Um, so yeah, I think that plays a little bit of a part in it. Look, nobody wants that put on them. If they're taking over an event like this, that kind of pressure. Coaster Stock wasn't just another enthusiast event. For many, it was the enthusiast event of the year.
Yeah. So The American Coaster Enthusiasts, they're gonna host their 2024 spring conference, and that's gonna be at Kings Island, and that's kind of rescuing the park from from the predicament they seem to be pretty keen on avoiding. If the event goes well, the people at the park can take the credit. If it doesn't go well and it wasn't their event in the first place, that's just my kind of summation of it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think when you look at the American Coaster Enthusiast, and I am a card carrying member of ACE,
Mhm.
I've been to many ACE events. They do a fantastic time when it comes to putting together events. Doesn't matter if it's a spring conference, the summer conference, these off-season, conferences that they do. It's all phenomenal.
Yeah.
And for the ACE Spring Conference, and I hope you do. Um, it's going to be a fantastic event. I don't think it's going to take a step back from Coaster Stock. I think in a lot of ways it's going to be better than Coaster Stock. So, from that standpoint, I think it's a win for coaster enthusiasts who are a member of ACE, and it's definitely a win for the park.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the ACE Spring Conference, very few details announced about this so far, but we can assume ERT, catered meals, speakers, that sort of stuff. So, stuff we're familiar with, but, the people that are members of ACE are pretty hardcore. So, they're going to have a fantastic event, and it's going to be a great event. Uh, the people that
Yeah, they will. And yeah, Ryan, and then we mentioned earlier, I did that. You don't end Coaster Stock without an ulterior motive.
right,
And you have the American Coaster Enthusiast, world renowned, biggest enthusiast organization out there on the planet. And what is Kings Island doing this year? They have new capital, expansion of the kids area with Camp Snoopy, a new roller coaster in that area. What better way to showcase your new kids area than by having the American Coaster Enthusiast having a spring conference at your park? And let's face it, I think one of the ambitions that Kings Island has in opening this new kids area this year is to you know take back the golden ticket award for the best kids area in the world. And this is definitely part of the I think that's the motive to have Ace there, is that's going to help you uh, because the conversations, the word of mouth, it's going to be a lot stronger when you have a club like Ace having an event there, and then they all go out onto the streets and start talking about Kings Island, how fabulous the kids area is. That's a lot stronger, than what Coaster Stock would have been able to do for them.
yeah, that's true. And the conundrum you get into is that the park also announced that it's opening late spring. So what do you do if it's not ready? I mean,
Well, I mean, it might be, maybe the roller coaster isn't ready, but I would think for the most part, when you get to that point in time, you don't want to commit to it. But I would be surprised if we got that far into the spring and it wasn't.
yeah, I mean, I would be too, but that would also be my concern because it's going to be completely dependent on that and dependent on like the weather and stuff, of course. But um, if they pull off this event and the coaster's open and it's gonna be a great addition to the park, and it's gonna be a fun coaster that they can all enjoy, um, they might have a shot at the golden ticket. If it's not ready, it's all for naught, and I feel like
Yeah, and you've seen the renderings. Yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic, doesn't it? I mean, they're repainting some of the existing rides and theming that to a Camp Snoopy type theme. It's going to look phenomenal. I think that everybody that attends this event from Ace, they're going to be blown away by how good Kings Island's kid area is.
it's my favorite part of this whole thing is it's in this area of Planet Snoopy that needed it the most. That whole back area by the amphitheater they don't use anymore. Um, it's really gonna rejuvenate it, and it's got, the Beagle Scout Acres. I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. It's funny because we always think about like, "Oh, what's Kings Island getting next year? Oh, a family coaster." Well, that's part of it. That's one of the moving parts. The rest of it looks phenomenal too, and I just hope that, you know, the picture on the box looks like the toy that comes out of it, which I assume it will because historically it has. I mean, I don't think that w along with, Cedar Fair coming in, that we've had any situation where there was, like, an animation or anything and things ended up not looking the way that they claimed it was going to, so I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great ride. I'm happy for them, and I'm happy for Vekoma. S-
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So, Don, before we get off the subject of coaster stock and move on to the listener question, I need your prediction. 2025, coaster stock coming back or not?
Brian, there's a merger that's imminent between Six Flags and Cedar Fair. It's expected to close sometime the next quarter here. With mergers, oftentimes come a lot of different changes in that. I think it's very ambitious to plan anything for 2025 right now if you're a park because you just don't know. If you're on the Six Flags and or Cedar Fair, you just don't know what that's all going to entail. And so I don't know. I don't know. I would hope so, but I don't know.
Absolutely. So, you said you weren't going to go to coaster stock. You going to go to the spring conference?
I think the Reds are in town that weekend.
Oh, I should have known. All right. So let's move on to the listener question. Um,
Right.
Don, you want to take this one?
Yeah. This one comes from Rex. Hello, Rex. Uh, Rex says, before I renew for 2024, do you think the new All Parks passport is worth upgrading from my Gold Pass?
Yeah, I guess I'll take it since I'm the one that's the more prominent. Well, not prominent, that's the wrong word, but I've been a season pass holder more recently than you have. But so
Yeah.
it's very simple. There's some debate between, the meal plan and stuff. And it's like, well, if you're going to eat more than 3.5 meals in a 4-day period, the all park passport's simple. You going to go to another Cedar Fair park? Yes, then get it. No, then don't. The only bit of advice that I would give you is that if you're on the fence about it, like if you might go to Cedar Point, and which I would recommend, Top Thrill too. Let's not forget about that. Um, you could hold off and then just add it later. I don't think that there's anything stopping you from doing that. The price may go up a little bit, but you also have to remember that you're also running the risk of spending $100 you didn't need to spend if you don't end up going to other parks. So in the end, yeah, you can ultimately add it on or not. Just remember that your meal plan is also a little bit more expensive too, which I think is interesting because I don't know why or the economics work out on that, but it's been the truth since the beginning. But Don, can you think of a reason why you wouldn't get the all park passport?
No, I mean, if you're going to go to other parks, you definitely, want to add that. I think for the consumer, which you are,
Hmm.
um, it's a lot easier to explain when you say get a gold pass and add the all parks passport. It's easy to understand that means I can now go to all the parks. I think when you had a gold pass, platinum pass, prestige pass, you know, s- uh, silver pass, I mean, it was kind of hard to know what was good when, and people, they would ask about their platinum pass. Well, is it good for the water parks? Is it good for parking?
Mm.
It's just a lot of questions with it. And when it becomes difficult for the consumer, they take the easiest thing. Would have just been, just let's just stick with a gold pass. So I think in that respect, I think they really simplified it. It's a tremendous value. Certainly give it a lot of thought there, Rex. Especially if you want to go beyond just like Kings Island or Cedar Point. I mean, a lot of great Cedar Fair parks out there. You know, I would do it.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, and this is us deviating from the question and answering questions that they didn't ask, which we have a tendency to do here on Tower Topics. But you mentioned that you believe that it's simplifying, and I understand your perspective with that. But I also feel like it was simplified, but they also screwed it up too with the Prestige Pass, the new Prestige Pass. So now it's you can get gold or prestige with the All Park Passport, and then the prestige costs or the all park passport costs more with prestige. It's just it's way more convoluted now than it was. But I think that since they had platinum passes for, a decade, decade and a half or equivalent, that changing it to just a gold pass, people that are familiar with platinum passes would probably be a little confused that they have a gold pass and now this gold pass can get them into Cedar Point. And this is speaking uniquely from the Cincinnati market because a lot of the other
Yeah.
parks obviously aren't as close as Cedar Point and Kings Island. So most people that live near Carowinds or whatever are so far away from the other parks that they probably know what they're talking about if they get a platinum pass or the all park add-on. But at Kings Island, it's kinda like I could see people, especially in the Columbus market, where they wanna pop between the 2. So that'd be more of like the casual consumer. So I would be concerned that it would just add to confusion. I ultimately, I if they stick with it, it'll probably work out over time, but I think initially it's been kind of a little bit messy as far as, the messaging with it. And then, no one seems to know what Prestige is. In fact, I was looking at King's Dominion, and they, like, deleted a bunch of the benefits from their website. It'll be interesting to see how that hammers out too, but, circling back, yeah, all park passport, if you're gonna go to a different Cedar Fair park, you're crazy not to.
Now, Ryan, you mentioned it had been a while since I've been a season pass holder, and it has been. But I think pass holders today have no idea how good they have it.
Oh, yeah.
My years as a season pass holder, I had a season pass for 26 years to Kings Island.
Mhm.
There was no free parking.
Yeah.
So from 1981 to 1990, I had to pay for parking every single day that I came to Kings Island. Then they add in 1991, you can buy a parking pass to add to your season pass.
Right.
So they added that. So that was kind of nice. I would have saved a little bit of money there, but with the frequency that I went, I would have saved a little bit of money. But then, there was no early ride time. There was no early entry. There was not these discounts on meals and merchandise. You had the occasional where it was like double ride Tuesday or something like
I
that,
remember that.
where, you could go while supplies last, you could go to a little kiosk and get a card that lets you ride twice on Delirium or something like that. But um, no, I mean, pass holders today, I mean, the value, I mean, it's just night and day to what it was when I had a season pass and was going to the park with a high degree of frequency, 5, 6 times a week, for about 20 something years. So, uh, definitely a better value now, a lot more, perks and benefits. And for me, it was just like your season pass was just your admission ticket that got you in every day. That's what it was during my time. So I feel like a grumpy old man right here talking about that. In my day, we didn't have all this, and we didn't. But I sometimes, when I see some of the complaints and things that people have about their pass, or we don't get this, we don't get that. You have no idea
Well, yeah,
on how good you
I
have it.
agree, and I remember, back in the day, like, I mean, my memory stretches as far as really Paramount in the last year of, Linder, but, um, I remember you used to have to buy parking, and it was like a sticker on your pass. Do you remember that? But
Yeah, it was a
I
little
never had
sticker.
to because I was, like, 7 or 8 years old, so, like, but I do remember that. Um, Also, I remember you mentioned, like, the 2 ride, remember 2 Ride Tuesday? This is, like, late Paramount.
Or something like that.
Walk
Double
on
double ride
weekends
Tuesday,
where you could get, like,
walk on
a
weekends.
ticket,
Yeah.
and then it was walk on Wednesdays after they realized weekends were a really bad idea for that. They had something every day, and it was cool
Yeah, but it
promotions.
was while supplies last. Yeah, but it was while supplies lasted. And if you didn't do it right away in the morning, you were left out. But no, back to the question to Rex though. Yeah, Rex, if I'm you and I'm interested in going to another park or two or more, you know, add that to your goal pass.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, aside from not planning on going to other parks, there's no reason not to, but very cool. Alright, so RIP Coaster Stock. Thanks for the question, Rex. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.